Ready? Okay. Derek, ready?
Yep.
It is 7:02, and I call the August 2nd, 2022 regular meeting of the Franklin County Planning Commission to order. Before we get into the meeting, I will turn it over to staff to discuss the meeting format.
Thank you, Chair. Tonight's meeting will be conducted through a hybrid in-person online meeting platform. Should an individual planning commissioner become unexpectedly disconnected, please rejoin the meeting at your first opportunity. Do we have any commissioners calling in? No, it does not look that way. Then I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next part. I'm not going to go over that aspect regarding the planning commissioners that have called in. If you wish, this is now to the public. If you wish to comment or need clarification on a public hearing item, please send us an email at planninginquiry, all one word, at franklincountywa, all one word, .gov, before the public comment period closes. Once public comment period has closed on said item, comments will not be included as part of the discussion. To those in attendance, please remember to speak into the microphone when addressing staff or public comments and testimony.
Will planning staff please call a roll and announce whether or not we have a quorum?
Mike Corrales,
Here.
Mike Vincent,
Here.
Leighton Lowe, Melinda Didier, Peter Harpster, Manny Gutierrez, Stacy Knifton. Mr. Chair, we do have a quorum.
Will staff in attendance please introduce yourselves?
Derek Broughton, Director of Planning and Building.
Ryan Nelson, Planner 1.
Aaron Gunderson, Planner 1.
Okay, we'll now say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. It's been moved by, is there a second? Second. It's been moved by Commissioner Knifton and second by Commissioner Vincent. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. It is now time for the public hearing portion of our meeting. Good evening and welcome. I will turn things briefly over to staff, to our staff host who will go over the ground rules for tonight's hearing.
Here are the ground rules for tonight's hybrid hearing. In-person public testimony will be divided into two groups, for and against / neutral. They will be called upon to speak during their allotted in-person public testimony section, giving their name for the audio record and position on the proposal. Call-in public testimony will be called upon individually during the call-in public testimony portion of the hearing, giving their name for the audio record as well as if they are in favor, neutral, or against the proposal. For those calling in, please mute the audio when not speaking. Emailed comments received during the public hearing will be read into the record by staff after the call-in public testimony section of the hearing. All comments and questions shall be addressed to the Planning Commission and should be relevant to the application and not be of a personal nature. Each speaker shall have 5 minutes to provide testimony and shall speak into the microphone. Please avoid repetitive comments. If there are a large number of speakers who are part of a group or organization, please select a representative to speak on behalf of the group. Behavior such as clapping, booing, hissing, or remarks is prohibited. Every citizen here tonight should have the opportunity to testify without such distractions. Chair?
Are there any questions regarding the public hearing ground rules? Turning for a moment to our commissioner members, please let us keep in mind that we are prohibited by law from communicating with members of the public on this subject matter of these hearings, except in these hearings. We also may not participate in a discussion in which there is an appearance of conflict of interest to the average person. So let us take a minute to consider as to the matters which are before us for the hearing today. Whether we had any ex parte communications, whether we have any ownership interest in the properties, whether we have any business dealings with proponents or opponents of the matter, or whether we have business associates or immediate family who may either be benefited or harmed by a decision in these matters. Are there any commission members who have a declaration at this time regarding any of the items on the agenda? Let the record show that there were no declarations. Is there anyone in the audience this evening? There is no one in the audience. Is there anyone on the phones? Nobody on phone? Okay.
Just as an FYI, Jen Johnson is attending. She's on the phone as staff.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on the phone, so don't hang up on me.
Gotcha. The order of the hearing should be as follows. Planning staff shall provide a staff report. The commission may ask questions of the staff, the applicant or applicant's representatives, presentation. In person, there's not going to be any of this. Nobody else is coming, are they?
The applicant is calling in.
Oh, they're going to call in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I am on the phone. This is Nancy Spears.
Okay. In-person public testimony for, against, or neutral regarding the project. Call-in public testimony for, against, or neutral regarding the project. Email public testimony for, against, or neutral regarding the project. Final staff comments, clarification of public statements that occurred during the testimony portion of the public hearing. Close to the public hearing and planning commission discussion of the proposed action. Are there any procedural questions before we begin the public hearing? Item number 1 is a public hearing for file CUP 2022-5, SEPA 2022-18, is a proposal for the building of a wireless communication facility to include a new 195-foot lattice tower that will support up to 4 cell carriers. Features of the proposed compound will include security fencing, gravel access road with fire apparatus turnaround, an emergency backup generator in the event of power outage. I declare the public hearing for CUP 2022-05, SEPA 2022-18 open at 7:10. May we have staff present the staff report, please?
Thank you, Chair. As mentioned, this is CUP 2022-05, conditional use for a 190-foot wireless facility tower, that communication tower. There's a lot of different names for them. We call them cell towers. The property, because of its nature, it's just rangeland. Basically, there's no address. We only address places that have structures. After, if this is approved and it is constructed, it will be assigned an address for the cases of emergency response, if there's any issues or something like that. Also, power usually will require that, but it's not assigned at this time. The parcel number is 103-350-027, agricultural production 40 zone, AP 40, meaning minimum 40 acres, minimum lot size. Comp plan is agricultural, and the property size, and this is the entire property, at not the project size, 318 acres. The parcel is located southeast of Black Road, west of Wadsworth Road, and northwest of State Route 260. And as mentioned, it's a wireless communication facility, 95-foot lattice tower that will support up to 4 cell phone carriers. We keep talking about that 4 cell phone carriers. We'll get into a little explanation as to why that keeps coming up. Area to be used is approximately, now this is the actual site footprint, is approximately 8,100 square feet. And this is for the tower itself and the support equipment. And overall, they will feature a 195-foot steel lattice tower, security fencing, and an emergency backup diesel generator. There's probably going to, well, I'll ask about that. Equipment. Sorry. As shown on the map, we're talking about this parcel here, which is basically half of a section. Oops. And, so on that big square, we're talking about it over here. Or rectangular, I guess. Site pictures. Not much out there. It's a lot of open country. It's it all looks pretty much like this. There's some hills. There's some, but there's no residents or other issues with this. Now, as part of the information we provided to the Planning Commission tonight is a PowerPoint presentation prepared by Ms. Spears, who's representing AT&T. There were some elements in that we thought were important, so we've included those with the citation to SmartLink. But this regards coverage gap. So when we're looking at the application of building a new tower in Franklin County, there's multiple steps that a provider has to go through. First, they have to look, can we co-locate? Is there an existing structure or tower that's going to provide the need that we need? Well, I guess actually before that, they have to actually have a need. And that's usually going to be a gap in coverage, improvements associated with technology, for example, going from 3 to 4 to 5, and upgrading their systems and things like that. Those, going from 3G, 4G, 5G, usually don't necessarily require that because you can just upgrade your existing equipment, but sometimes it won't work. And with this, in this case, for example, it's not even a proposed 5G, it's a 4G, but it tells you something about the coverage that we have out in that area. It isn't good. There's not a lot and gaps and more. So, anyways, it's the need to expand wireless service into an area that either has no service or bad service. The main objective is to provide new 4G LTE coverage in that area. As mentioned, it's 195 foot. So what you see here is she provided a wonderful key that helps kind of get a grip for that understanding, a rationale as to why, part of why they're trying to, we need a new tower. We can't just necessarily co-locate. So on or about June 30th, 2022, sorry, going back, I had mentioned why we keep, as a builder of the tower, they have a kind of a obligation that when they're doing that to do so such that they can accommodate other service providers. So what this will do is in the future for other people, even their competitors, now that's a negotiated deal between providers, and we don't get into whether it's free or $1 million or any of that. It's their tower. But they have to negotiate in good faith with the provider and provide that opportunity. But it may not even be that. It could be another, maybe the sheriff's station needs something, or these types of things. And up to 4 other entities can locate on that tower. So it should take care of, in my opinion, any potential need for a new tower other than this one in that area for a while. We'll see how the world evolves after that, but, so on or about June 30th, staff sent the notices to technical agency property owners within 1 mile and posted in the Franklin County Graphic that we would be holding, that this application had been received and we'd be holding a hearing this evening. We posted the pending land use action sign that you saw in the picture, and staff, or the SEPA lead official, made a determination of non-significance and is registered as SEPA registry number 2022-03275. Comments were pretty straightforward. Public Works approach permit is required to access the Franklin County Road, so that access road that they mentioned, they'll need to get a permit, approach permit for that. So this is in Franklin PUD service area? How interesting. Okay, so, I don't, they'll have to coordinate with Franklin PUD to get the power out there and those types of needs. That's also, like I said, if not before, at that point, we'll probably have to have the area addressed. That addressing will occur at the time of approach permit. So we received comment letters from the Yakima Nation, U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, but nothing really earth-shaking. And that, again, it's a cell tower out in the middle of lots of country. The proposed use in the AP 40 zoning district is in accordance with the goals and policies of the county development regulations and the applicable comprehensive plan. They've done the homework. They've provided the analysis to us, so staff does not have any issues or concern with approving a tower. It will not adversely affect the public infrastructure, will be constructed, maintained, and operated to be in harmony with the existing or interior. It's a tower. We do not have any requirements to where they disguise it or make it look like a tree or anything like that. That's more appropriate in an urban setting. And when you're doing shorter structures, you don't tend to do a 200-foot pine tree because it kind of defeats the purpose. It's just, it looks like a tree, but it's kind of tall. In fact, yeah, it would be. Anyways, all right. The location and height of the structure and site design will not discourage the development of permitted uses on property in the general vicinity or impair the value thereof. Will not be more objectionable to nearby property by reason of noise. This facility, I can't speak to whether or not there'll be flashing lights at the top of it. That's an FAA call, Federal Aviation Association, as to exactly what type of lights or if they will need lights. But that's part of their application process that they'll need to get their licensing in, and they'll have that all worked out. But most of this, the requirements associated with structure height, what types of warning lights, these types of things, those are actually handled by the licensing agencies. If they don't meet the minimum, those requirements, they're not going to get their license for the facility. And the proposal will not endanger the public health, safety, or general welfare. So, yeah, security fencing is going to go a long ways to helping address any potential concerns with that. And so here are the kind of like project-specific comments, or conditions of approval. The WCF shall at all times comply with the standards and established in Franklin County Code 17.66.100. That's our WCF section, including meeting current standards of the Federal Aviation Administration, the Federal Communication Commission regarding tower lighting, marking, interference. That has to do with signal interference. Additionally, the applicant is required to submit the following prior to building permit: statement signed by the applicant and landowner agreeing to negotiate in good faith. This is what I was talking about with the co-location earlier. And a signed statement from the applicant that they agree to remove the facility within 90 days if they, for some reason, should abandon it. All storm drainage shall be retained on site. Fence shall be provided around the cell tower, and it shall be at least 6 feet in height, and access to the tower shall be through a lock gate. Said gate, will most likely also need a Knox box, but that again, Knox box is what the emergency services use to get into buildings. It's a box with a key. That exact access will be between them and the specific fire district. We're not going to say how you have to do that. That's up to the fire district that's serving that area. Exterior lighting shall be directed on site so as not to interfere with the comfort and repose of adjoining. It's what we call dark sky standards. And as mentioned, current parcel size is 318 acres with 8,100 square foot of the property to be used for the project site. The property is later adjusted through a boundary line adjustment short plat to where it would affect project site. A new conditional use permit may be required. So let's say in the future, a couple more people want to locate on this and they're dropping equipment and they're ending up having to expand the footprint of that facility. They're going to move that fence line at all. CUP. Expansion of the footprint is going to require an additional or an amended. If AT&T does it because it's their tower, it would be an amended conditional use permit. If another provider, it would be a new conditional use permit. Comply with the requirements and recommendations of Franklin County Public Works. Comply with conditions for access and parking. Comply with conditions for occupancy and uses. And this is staff's suggested motion. Happy to answer any questions. And again, their agent is on the line, so I may beg off to her on some of those.
If they do expand the footprint and they need to apply for additional CUP, I mean, you start the process over? Is that what you do?
Yeah, amended CUPs or regular conditional use permits, new ones, it all pretty much follows the same process as far as timeline goes, if that's what you're asking.
Well, you say if they expand the footprint, then they have to apply for an additional CUP than the original one, which is this one.
Right, because they're approved to utilize 8,100 square feet with a 195-foot tower.
Right.
Now, if somebody comes in and is co-locating and they're not going to expand it, the footprint of that, then it's just permitted by right. I mean, they got to come into the building department, and go through a building permit, but there's no public hearings or anything like that. Once this if this is approved and it is built, once it's in, then up to 4 carriers can locate on that, and it's just permitted by right. It's only if they expand that footprint beyond what it currently
Does
is.
the 4 carriers, is that and you're very specific about the 4 carriers. I mean, does that have anything to do with the structure?
Has to do with the height. Yep. So as you get taller,
Right.
you have a requirement to allow more
Right.
of the carriers. I think on an 80-foot, you have to have at least allowance for one other, and as you get up, so.
So that means as you go through your review for the building permit, as it goes up, the size of the tower gets larger then, because there's more, I mean, you're looking for an engineering specifications on this tower, right? So it means, I mean, you're gonna be looking for an engineered drawing for this tower from somebody that knows how to construct
Correct.
towers without falling over.
Yes. We will have that. It'll be stamped by an engineer that specializes in that field.
Right.
It'll also be reviewed by the FCC, Federal Communication Commission, and the FAA to some degree. I don't know if the structure is. Ms. Spears has way more experience into the actual process for review and approval than I do. I'm just shepherding this through.
So if you get to the structure part of the tower, then, like you're saying, the licensing, which is the interface between the light and, has to be correct in order to be compliant.
That's FAA. So the FAA has height limit where or height standards, thresholds, whatever, As you get higher, you have different types of lights, different numbers of lights, the way they face and orient, whether or not they're spinning, flashing, static, yellow, green, or red. There may be even other colors. And they do, so that all has to do with, again, a lot of variables, flight patterns, amount of air traffic, height orientation, overall elevation, as opposed to just structure height. You know, all of these different dynamics, that's the FAA will go. And most of this is standardized. Again, these folks, this is not their first rodeo. So they'll go through it, but that would be one of, you know, that's one of our, would be our recommended condition. is You've got to meet all those standards. We don't want people building towers that are not going to be able to be used for the intended purpose. So the structural integrity thing, that'll be just like any other engineered project where we have a licensed engineer that will review the structure. Unless this is a different scenario, it probably, you know, it'll have a, we'll have a defined collapse zone. The tower will, depending on, you know, often they're designed so that they collapse into themselves as opposed to leaning over. These types of things. Now out here, because we're not in proximity to other structures and things like that, you know, those standards may be a little looser under the FCC standards, I don't know. But like in a urban setting, yeah, those things got to go straight down as much as possible.
Footing's got to depth of footing is
Yeah.
contingent to the size of the tower.
Yeah, all of that stuff, though, will be done by that licensed engineer. They'll be submitted, those items will be reviewed, and then there'll be certain points in the process where that engineer says, yep, signs off on that, signs off on that. That'll all be part of the record and the file kept on this tower. And yeah, when there's new weight added to it, there may be a requirement for an engineer analysis based on the weight differentials, and you know, it was designed for 2,000 pounds. We're at 1,780, and you're looking at somewhere around 300 pounds of new equipment. We need to get a spec'd out analysis of the equipment, weight, and all these things. Yeah, wind shears, there's a lot of, especially at that height, there's a lot of
It
different
seems like
analysis.
just to plan for the future, you'd want a substantial tower that could not only carry the load for this CUP, but also looking to the future.
Right, it would, if they say it's up to 4 carriers, it's being designed to accommodate the equipment for up to 4 separate entities,
Right.
so.
I'm just saying that it seems like they'd build that tower to accommodate 5 or 6 maybe, you know, down the road. It's not that much of a difference, I would think.
Oh, it can be,
Well,
yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a Space Needle or something.
It depends on the how and the what,
Right.
yeah. So, any other questions for me?
Does the applicant or applicant's representative wish to speak? Nope.
I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have.
Nope. Is there any call-in public testimony? Nope. Email public testimony?
Nope.
Nope. Does staff have any final comments? Nope.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
I just wanted to remind that I made an adjustment in the PowerPoint to note that there's 15 conditions, not 16, because the numbers.
We had a
were mislabeled.
miscount. We skipped a 3. And I do have one question. We mentioned, and I just want clarification, Ms. Spears, there is going to be ground equipment as well, a equipment cabinet.
Correct.
How big is that going to be, roughly?
I have the plans up, just on a second. I think it's a 10 by 10, 10
So-
foot by 10 foot.
Okay. So, yeah, well within our limits. We do have a limit, but at 100, I think it's 700 square, I can't remember off the top of my head, but 100 square foot, 10 by 10, no problem. Thank you. Just wanted to confirm that.
Uh-huh.
Does staff have any final comments?
Nope.
The public testimony portion of the public hearing for CUP 2022-5, SEPA 2022-18 is closed. Is there any discussion amongst the planning commission prior to entering a motion? I would entertain a motion.
I move that the Franklin County Planning Commission recommend that the Board of County Commissioners adopt the 6 findings of fact and 15 conditions of approval detailed in the staff report and approve case file CUP 2022-05.
It has been moved by Commissioner Harpster, is that right? Harpster, and seconded by Commissioner Knifton, that we forward to the Board of Commissioners a recommendation of approval for CUP 2022-5, SEPA 2022-18, with the 6 adopted findings of fact and 15 conditions of approval. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Mike Corrales,
Yes.
Mike Vincent,
Yes.
Stacy Knifton,
Yes.
Peter Harpster.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion has been approved.
Very well. We're done with one. Public hearing for CUP 2022-4, SEPA 2022-16 is currently on hold in order for the applicant to address concerns raised during the public agency comment period. We're done. Any questions?
There is no one in the audience, therefore there will be no public comment from the audience. Just in case the folks out there were wondering.
Okay.
Just real quick on the administrative items. Ergon facility was approved and, what am I drawing a blank? Okay, and then, yeah, Ergon. And then we've got still got what, 3, 4 CUPs that'll be coming? Well, we got zones, some zoning changes. The Skibbit zone change will be going to the board in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
It'll probably go on probably submit on the 9th, so it'll be the 16th is when that'll be heard. But we've got some items coming up. For September, there's going to be quite a few items. And then in September, we're also going to need to talk about the comprehensive plan amendment docket for 2022.